All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Sweat Club. First, I want to thank all of you for watching the recording last week. If you practiced last week, I literally just got done with our Mallorca retreat. It was amazing. 8 days of joy, of laughter, of community. I honestly would not change a thing. So shout out to those of you who were there. Thank you for making the experience just so magical. It was perfect. I'm a little tired. So you will see that a bit in the practice today, which means we are going to go a bit slower, probably work down on the mat a little bit more, and maybe touch in with some of the basics. I think that that's it. I will be, as a heads up, sending out the retreat schedule for 2026, probably this week if I can get my life together. So either this week or next week, you'll see the retreat schedule for the coming year, which I'm also very excited to announce. There will be 3 retreats in Mallorca, actually 4, I think. So keep an eye out for that. We will get ready and we will get started today in child's pose. So find child's pose. And 2 options. Toes together, knees wide, hands forward, option 1. Knees together, toes together, hands back. So shoulders draped down, option 2. You can always bring a block or a bolster to the mat to rest your forehead on. Oh, that feels nice for me today, right? Just a little less space, a little more, less of a circle in the spine. Close your eyes. And then try to let the body relax. So where are you holding on? Let yourself just drape down to the ground. Inhale. Exhale. Some of you, or most of you, if not all of you, should have noticed that we are in a change of seasons right now. So we're shifting from summer to autumn. Maybe depending where you are, you're like, autumn, we're already moving towards winter, which is fine as well. But sometimes change can be hard for us. Maybe there's one season that you particularly like and you try to cling to, right? You're trying to squeeze every last drop out of it before it ends. But the seasons shift just as naturally as we do. So today's class will revolve around this accepting not only of the external change, right? But celebrating what comes with change. What comes when we embrace a new season, perhaps not just time of year, but a new season of life. On your next breath in, start to deepen your inhales and your exhales. Maybe you take it to a 5 count as you inhale, or a 6 or 7, and then do the same count as you exhale. Your diaphragm is a big balloon extending down into the low abdomen. And see if as you inhale, you can even make the ribs in your back start to feel like they're expanding up towards the ceiling. Take 3 more cycles of breath with your count. And if the mind wanders, come back to the breath. This is our first change, right? As we shift the breath from unthinking to conscious breath. On your next inhale, pull yourself up out of tabletop pose. Let your eyelids be heavy. If you have a block or something under the forehead, just gently push it off the mat. And then find wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. As you inhale, drop the belly, roll the shoulders back. Maybe eyes are closed and you gaze at the third eye. And then exhale, tuck the chin and round. So try to do your cat and cows today, and you can continue with your breath. Inhale, drop the belly. Try to do them slowly. So sometimes, especially vinyasa yogis, get really excited and they're like, okay, inhale fast, exhale fast, cat, cow. How about we do slow cat and cows today? Not trying to rush through the process, but trying to experience the sensations in your body. More importantly, experience what shifts, what changes do you need to make in the body to make each pose. Keep moving. If you like, you can start to add in other movements, just organically, maybe moving side to side, barrel rolls, pushing your butt back in and out of child's pose. This is that opportunity to nurture your body. So take a few more breaths, just listening to intuitively what your body's asking for. And then come back to center, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Walk your knees together. Shift your weight over into your left knee and reach your right foot back. Take a nice big stretch in the back of the leg. I like to do this by really pushing into my hands to encourage the stretch as I sink back. Try to straighten through the right leg. And then maybe move side to side. When you're ready, back to center. Option to keep the foot on the ground and keep stretching, or you might try to lift the foot up off the mat. Now, naturally, you're going to want to come into a back bend and be like, look how beautiful it is, my foot's up, but that's not what we're doing. We're extending through the leg while we pull the core in. So your back should be flat, and that'll prevent the leg from lifting that high, and that's great. That means you're doing it right. Take an inhale here. Exhale, take your right knee towards your right tricep. So just hug it under, and now you'll round through the spine like you're in cat pose. Keep the hip as closed as you can. Inhale, extend the right leg back. Notice if you start to add in the back bend as you extend. Exhale, right knee, right tricep. Again, inhale, extend right leg back. Notice how we're moving nice and easy today. Exhale, right knee, right tricep. All right, inhale, extend the leg back. And then bring your knees together, curl your toes under. Two options here. Option one, you'll just come up with your hands on your hips and hold here, trying to lengthen the spine to the ceiling. Option two, you'll sink your hips down onto your heels and come to broken toe pose, sitting with the hands on the thighs. So the reason I cue this so much is because the more we do this with these toes curled under, the longer we can sit here. I would venture to guess my husband can chill here for like 20 minutes because he just sits in this all the time. So little by little, we gain a couple seconds every time. So just allow yourself to sit heavy. And maybe you're starting to find, who knows, maybe, that the more we do this, the easier it's getting, and you can hold it even longer and longer than I might cue, which is great. Then you can practice it at home in front of the TV. Take a breath in. And out, stay there, you got this. Inhale again. Exhale. All right, inhale, come on forward. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Switch your weight over into your right leg. Extend the left leg back and find a nice big stretch. Oh, and I kind of even, I don't know, on this side, moving side to side and the ribs feels good. So remember, there's no right or wrong way to do any pose. If it feels like it's working for you, that is the right way, no matter what the teacher says. not the whole, but one of the main goals of yoga is to get more in touch with both your mind and body and start to really understand what it is, how it works. And the first way, the best way to do that is curiosity. So inhale, come back to center. Now try to pull the core in first to counteract the bend in the spine and then lift the foot up. Leg is long, push into your hands, fingers are nice and wide, right? You'll just hang out here for a little bit, thinking about almost like I'm behind you, tugging on your leg straight back, trying to extend it to the back of the room. Inhale. Exhale, left knee, left tricep. Try to keep the hip closed and you'll just squeeze that up and in. Inhale, left leg back. Try to not bend in the spine. There we go. Exhale, left knee, left tricep. Inhale, left leg back. Exhale, knee to tricep. All right, extend the leg back. And then exhale, knees together, curl your toes under, take a seat on your heels or come lengthening the spine up. So our two options, will hold for 3 breaths. Maybe they're really slow breaths. How slow can you make your breath here? Relax your face, relax your feet. One more, inhale. And exhale. All right, inhale, come forward. Untuck the toes. Now we are going to come to a seat. So ideally, you'll try to get there without your hands. Maybe you just use one hand, bringing the hand down, kicking your butt to the side, coming to a seat. Maybe you can go no hands and you can sit the butt back on the heels, then kick the butt around, come to a seat. Maybe you're like, yes, I see that over there. Nice, perfect. You find a weird way to come to a seat, that works as well. Once you are there, take your right shin. I want you to look down at your right leg right now. Look at your right leg. Grab your right shin with your hand and then bring your right shin parallel to the top of the mat. So look at your right shin, make sure it's parallel with the top of the mat. Then you will internally rotate the back thigh and make sure your back shin, your left shin, is parallel with the side of the mat. If this feels really uncomfortable for you, you could zip the legs a little bit closer and you can also lean over onto one side. So option to lean as much as you need, but find your 90-90 pose. A way to check if you're doing it is your legs should be close to 90-90. Look down. Your right knee is in line with your right hip, ankle in line with the knee. Left knee in line with the left hip, ankle in line with the knee. Now lean forward onto your right hip. So your weight, you're gonna kind of lift the left butt cheek up off the mat. That's fine. Lean forward as much as you can. And you'll start to fold over this leg. But a lot of yogis will be like, oh my God, I'm so good at pigeon pose. I can just fold, right? That's not the goal today. And the goal today is to facilitate a stretch, which is actually a little bit more challenging. So bring your hands to the ground, arms straight, and then try to shift your right hip backwards. So start shifting your right hip backwards as much as you can. Push your right knee down into the ground. If you shift the hip enough and push the knee down enough, you should feel a stretch in the glute right away. If that doesn't work, press the hands into the ground and start to use the hands to push the right hip backwards. But I could facilitate that stretch all the way up here. I can feel it, right? You might need to move your hands around from side to side to try to find this. And if you can't find it in class today, that's okay. I encourage you to work on this on your own to find it because it is a non-ego-based stretch, right? I'm not trying to fold, but it's really, really great at stretching through the glutes. So push the right hip back a little bit more. Drive the right knee into the ground, the right ankle into the ground. Push, 3. And now you can start to ramp up. See how much you can push, 2. And 1, take a breath in. As you exhale, lift yourself back up, bring your right hand behind you slightly, and then we're going to open to the back, but listen carefully. Look down at your right knee. Actually, let's take the right hand to the right knee. That's even better. Push your right hand on your right knee. Tell that knee not to move. Be like, you're not moving, knee. Great. Now, lift your left knee up as much as you can until your hips stop opening without letting the right knee lift. Remember, if you check down, see if it tried to lift. If it did, be like, nope, push back down. Keep trying to open. Keep trying to roll onto the outer edge of that foot and hold. Maybe extend the hand forward. Notice you should get a little more the more you push. The more you push, 3, squeeze and open. 2, little bit more. Open hips. 1, now transition to the back of the mat by just turning towards the back of the mat. You will Have your left shin, if you need to reset up, that's fine. Your left shin will be parallel with the back of your mat, so you can grab your shin. Your right shin will be parallel with the side of your mat. Once more, 90-90 setup on both sides. Same concept, turn towards your left leg. Start to lean over that thigh, but instead of collapsing and just being like, I'm stretching, push your hands into the mat and then create a big shift back, all your weight in your left hip as you push the left hip backwards and the left knee down to the ground. Flex your left foot, push your left ankle into the ground, and maybe you have to move side to side to find where the stretch is. For me, the stretch actually today is a little bit more if I move over to the right and bring my hand outside. So there's, again, no rules, right? The only good way to find a stretch is a good way for you. So facilitate that by trying to push the left hip down, push the ankle down, push the knee down, and hold. 3. Start to push a little bit harder. Really drive that leg into the ground. 2. A little bit more. 1. Take an inhale, push. Maybe you push almost as hard as you can, down and back. And then come back to center. Left hand will come to the left knee. Right hand will come behind you. You can lean back like you're leaning on the beach. Don't let that left knee lift. Start to open the right leg. Open, open, open. How wide can you get it? While trying to open, it's going to stop at some point. And you'll be like, no, not anymore. Don't stop yet. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Roll onto the outer edge of the leg for 3 or on the ankle for 2. Ooh, I'm already sweating. 1 and back to center. Great. Bring your hands to heart center. Option 1, come to tabletop with using your hands. Maybe you use one hand. Option 2, you could try to zip your legs together. Maybe roll over onto your knees and wiggle yourself back into tabletop pose. Once you're there, you did some nice little mobility work, a good little hip warm up. Drop your belly, roll your shoulders back, look high. Inhale. Exhale, round to cat. Inhale, come back to center, walk your hands one hand put forward, curl your toes under, push up and back, downward facing dog. Reminder, you can always stay in tabletop instead of down dog. You're more than welcome. If you're in down dog, sink the heels down and maybe pedal out through the feet. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, why? Because I've always been cued to pedal through the feet for like my whole yoga career. And I was like, why do they tell us to pedal? What if we just stay still? Because you will stretch the same, right? So maybe you pedal for a second and then maybe just try sinking the heels down and don't move, like you're sticking a pose, right? Long story short, question everything. Breath in and out. All right, inhale, look forward, and then walk yourself one toe print at a time to the top of the mat and fold when you're there into Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands might be to the shins, maybe to the thighs, ideally flat back, scapular retract. Exhale, fold. Take that again. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Once more, half lift. Exhale, fold. And then sit your butt back, take your arms wide, push through a chair pose all the way to standing, reach high, look high. And then keep your hands there, take a steeple grip. Stretch your biceps up into your ears, lengthen through your spine, bend over to the left side by bumping your right hips over, bump your right ribs over, and then try to crunch your left hip to your left rib. So it's almost like rather than expanding, you're doing this little side crunch on the side. While you crunch, think about slightly tucking the pelvis. So the butt squeezes, pelvis tucks in, arms squeeze towards the ears as you hold. 3, 2. Great. 1, inhale up, stay here. Now switch your grip. It should feel like you're holding a stranger's hand. Switch it around. Inhale, lift and squeeze. And then exhale, take it over to the opposite side. So bump the left hip over, expand through the side body, then side crunch between your right rib and your right hip. It's almost like you're like on the ground doing little crunches, right? Then don't allow the shoulders to fall forward. Keep them up and above the head. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Maybe take the arms wide to release the shoulders all the way down. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back to plank or tabletop pose, up to you. I'm gonna do tabletop first, and we can lower down nice and easy, elbows back. 3, 2, 1. Untuck the toes. We have 3 baby cobras. Inhale, lift hands, lift body, and then exhale, you stay. So with every lift, you try to get a little higher. Exhale, stay. Once more, inhale, lift and squeeze. You can do it. Squeeze your butt, squeeze everything. Exhale, lower down. Forehead comes to the mat. Breath in and out. Curl the toes under, push up, either tabletop or plank. Remember, if you're doing plank, you lift the thighs first, pull the belly in, shoulders back, push up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale your right leg high. Look down at your right thigh and then internally rotate the thigh. So the thigh rolls in. What we're doing is we're closing the hip. I'm going to find 9 million cues for this before I'm 80 because I think this is so important. So sink your left heel down. Once the hip is closed, then you can try to re-lift the leg. Inhale. Exhale, take your right knee to your left tricep. So you might not twist that much. Maybe it's just a core stretch or core crunch. Inhale, right leg high. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, right leg high. Listen carefully. Exhale, take your right knee to the inside of your right tricep. Externally rotate the thigh, and then you're going to bring the shin down on the ground. So it's like we're coming toward pigeon pose. But instead of pigeon, you will keep the back knee lifted. So look at my upper body. I'm in tabletop. The knee comes down. If you need to pad the knee, that's fine. Today, we are working on pigeon, but I'm working on all my bones I have to pick with pigeon because pigeon is actually a really hard pose. So we're going to start here. Then start to sink your butt back, little by little, little by little, little by little. Maybe you eventually untuck the toe. And if you are a more experienced yogi, you might come into pigeon and be like, oh, this is so easy. But guess what? We're going to shake it up. So you might be here. You might be here. Wherever you are, pull your right hip back in space and your left hip forward and try to physically lift. If you watch my hips, watch not pulling, pulling yourself up off of the mat by engaging, pulling right hip back, left hip forward. Reminder, if this is a lot on the hip flexor, you can have the toe curled under and you're still pulling and lifting. It's the same shift we did in 90-90 pose. We're just doing it in our pigeon kind of esque pose. So take a breath in, pull a little bit more. Exhale. One more inhale. And then you'll lean forward. Maybe you have to hop the foot up, right, to get back to where you're started. And then push into the hands, round through the upper spine like cat pose. Try to lift the leg first, and then push up and back, downward facing dog. Breath in. And out. Inhale your left leg high, same thing. Look down at your thigh. Internally rotate the thigh. So make it dramatic, trying to roll the thigh in towards the pelvis. Then once you have that roll, don't just give up, right? Keep that rotation and then try to lift the leg. See how high you can lift it as you sink the right heel down and hold. 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Exhale, take your left knee towards your left tricep. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, left leg high. I slightly messed this up, but it's okay. We're going to do it anyway. Exhale, left knee, right tricep. Then take your knee from your right tricep over to your left tricep. Externally rotate. See, I fixed it. And then bring the shin down to the ground. So once you're there, remember there's so many different levels, right? You might start here. You can have the back knee down and start here. Or you might start to sink your way back, coming towards your pigeon pose. Once you're there in whatever version you're doing, you will pull your left hip back and your right hip forward, trying to physically lift yourself up off of the mat. So instead of being like, oh, I'm just going to hang out here, I'm having such a nice stretch, blah, 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 you're going to squeeze and lift so it's strong. And now's a great option or a great time, let's say, to think about how you feel about me changing things. Because some people really love Pigeon, some people don't. But given that our class is centered around change, and don't forget you're engaging, pull left hip back, right hip forward, don't give up on me. How does it make you feel when we do things a little differently than we normally do in our practice? Transitioning to a different version of the pose. Breath in and out. Try to lift a little higher. Once more, inhale. And then exhale, you can lower the back knee down to tuck the toe under if it's not. Shimmy your way back up, finding where you started before. Push into the hands, and then round through the spine. Try to lift the knee up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward. Your option, knees up or knees down, and we'll lower down slow. 3, 2, 1 to your belly. Inhale, let's take a Sphinx pose to give the wrists a break. So hands will come forward. Elbows are a bit in front of the shoulders. Pull the hands towards you as you start to open the heart. Now, often when we do Pigeon, there are 2 variations. One is sleeping Pigeon or folding. The other is where we sit up. And when we sit up, we're typically in a fairly big back bend, just to compensate for hip extension. So think about chest moving forward, shoulder blades squeeze, and start to find that same lift that you would if you were lifting up towards the ceiling. Maybe you can even envision yourself in Pigeon pose, lifting and extending. Breath in and out. Again, pull the hands, inhale. Exhale, forehead lowers down to the mat. Take a rest on your hands. Elbows wide, breath in. And a breath out. Inhale, lift the head up. Slide the hands back so your thumbs are in line with your nipples. Shoulders back. Curl the toes under. Option 1, push up to tabletop. Option 2, strong push up with the shoulder heads back to plank pose. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, look forward. And then make your way to the top of the mat and fold Uttanasana. Head is heavy. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, butt back, arms wide. Push yourself through chair pose all the way to standing. Come high, look high. Exhale, hands to heart center. Hands by your sides, Tadasana. Close your eyes. Breath in. And a breath out. Start to recognize the subtle changes, the shifts in your body since we started practice. Sometimes it feels like we're adding oil to a greasy wheel, right? As we warm up, the body resists a little when we start. But then it starts to get going, right? It starts to move a little bit more. So see where you're at in that phase, into that rhythm. Inhale. Exhale, hands can come to your hips. Option to have a chair here or a wall if you like to help with balance. We're going to move on to a bit of a balancing kind of sequence just for a second. I care more about, we're working on hip rotation, than your balance. So maybe you just have one there for safety. You can kind of set up and find what works for you. When you're ready, draw your left knee up to a 90-degree bend, just like we did on the ground, knee in line with hip, knee in line with ankle, and then you've been here before, external rotation in the thigh. So thigh comes out. Just like you're trying to turn a dial, start to turn it little by little. So this is option 1. And if you look at me, notice my knee isn't widening out to the side. My knee is straight off of my hip. So take a look at your knee, make sure it's in line with the hip. Then externally rotate the thigh without letting the knee move. Good adjustments. Hold. Option to stay here, or if you're really craving something, you might reach down and start to facilitate that stretch by grabbing for the ankle and pushing the knee down. Now this is nice because it's passive, right? But I'm only encouraging, if you can do this, that you do this. You're going to let go of the ankle and the knee and try to see if you can keep the rotation in the hip. Ready? Take a breath in, squeeze, and try to let go. Oh, mine dropped like 3 inches. That's fine. We're going to hold. 3. Find your balance. 2. And 1. Take the rotation out. Step your feet together. Hands by your sides. Tadasana. Breath in and out. Shift your weight over. Left leg is strong. Bring your right leg up. 90-degree bend. Same thing. You might have a chair there or a wall there for support, a stair. Doesn't matter what you use. Then, keeping the knee in line with the hips so the knee doesn't widen out to the side, externally rotate the thigh. Once you're here, find stability first, find balance first. Then maybe you try to lift the ankle up, facilitating essentially what would look like a pigeon pose, but standing, right? Pushing that knee down as you lift the ankle. Now, the fun part is that we try to keep the hip exactly where it is when we release in 3, 2, 1. Now try to release. Ugh. Terrible. It moved a lot. But notice you should have maybe a little bit of cramp in your inner hip, right? Almost there. 3, 2, and 1. Take the rotation out, hands by your sides, feet together, Tadasana. Breath in and out. All right, inhale. Sweep the hands up, look up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, and then again, you might want to prop here. So if you have blocks, you might want to put blocks or a pillow under your arms. We're going to be working, essentially, just so you can know what we're prepping for, a standing splits variation. So if you need support for standing splits, you could even put a chair there and stay in half lift. Ideally, you'll shift your weight over into your left leg, reach your right leg back. So this is a warrior 3 with props, right? Chest is parallel-ish with the ground as you try to lift up. When you're ready, you'll start to fold forward. Think about bringing your forehead towards your left shin. Now, you might be like, Madison, are you kidding me? That's why we have this prop here. We're going to see how much we can fold. Maybe if you have a block, you lower the block, get it a little bit lower. Maybe eventually the hands can come towards the ground. If you're like, Madison, I can do all these things, then your option is to lift that leg high, one hand to the ankle, maybe 2 hands to the ankle. Ooh. And if you fall, what do? We laugh because it's hilarious because we're doing really weird stuff as you hold for 3. Now the challenge for me is I want to open the hip, so internally rotate the thigh. 2 and 1. Walk yourself back up to wherever you started. Maybe you're at a halfway lift. Our extended warrior 3, step your feet together and fold Uttanasana. Knees can be bent for a second. Let the head be heavy. All right, let's just do the other side. We're getting it over with. Inhale, half lift. Can you tell I'm excited? All right, hands can start on the block. Maybe you're up higher. Shift your weight over into your right leg. If you look at me, notice my wrists are under my shoulders to begin. Shift the weight into the right leg. Left leg can come back. Option to stay here, working on internally rotating. What the goal is in this position is I want you to work on hip extension, which means the hip lifting up and past the butt. If you like, you might bring the block a little bit lower. Maybe you bring one hand to the ground, maybe 2 hands. Maybe you start to walk the hands back slightly or bring one hand to the ankle. Now, no matter what you're doing in standing splits, one of my best friends is a dancer, and every time she does this, her hip is beautiful and open. But we're going to try to close the hip by internally rotating, then lift. And what'll happen is the leg just won't lift that far, right? That's kind of the game, and that's okay. Hold here. 3. Lift a little higher. You can do it. 2. And 1. Breath in. As you exhale, walk yourself up. Pause briefly, maybe in your warrior 3 that's supported, and then feet together. Fold forward, knees are bent, Uttanasana. You can push your block or any support you might have had out of the way. Fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. I want to do like a softball pose. Oh, I'm tired. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands, step back to downward facing dog. And then inhale, come forward once more. We'll lower down together. Option to have the knees down. 3. All the way to your belly. 2. And 1. Great. Inhale up, Sphinx pose, round 2. Pull the hands towards you. Close your eyes. Gaze at the space between your eyebrows. Tops of the feet push into the mat. And then with your eyes closed, maybe you can tell that the bend is really coming from the low back more than anywhere else. Anywhere else? How can you facilitate more bending from the upper spine? One way is to think about pulling the chest forward, right? Chest reaches. Breath in, breath out. Again, inhale. Exhale, lower forehead down to the mat. Elbows wide. Inhale, lift yourself up. Slide your hands back. Option 1, tabletop. Option 2, down, or option 2 is push up, and then exhale, up and back, downward facing dog. All right, come down to your knees. I'm going to demo slightly. We are going to work on 2 different things. Like I said, today's intention is pigeon pose. There are 2 options though that we're all going to try together. So remember this 90-90 that we worked on before. You're going to have to find it again. I believe in you. I know you can do it. Take your right hand to your right shin parallel with the top of the mat. Left shin parallel with the side of the mat. This often in class, even when I'm cued pigeon, I like to do 90-90 because what it means is we're working solely on this external rotation on the front hip. So think about pushing your right knee down. Remember that stretch we got? And if you couldn't find it last time, that's okay. Maybe one day you will by moving side to side, right? So think about shifting your right hip backwards as much as you can, trying to almost encourage that stretch in that butt cheek. Now, this is what you can also do in class when someone says pigeon. You might start to reach that leg back a little bit. Notice it's not tucked under yet. I've just started to push the knee backwards slightly. Once you're here, think about dropping left hip forward, pulling right hip back, pushing right knee down. Same concept. So look, most people, you can barely tell that you're not in pigeon almost, right? If this feels okay, you are welcome to shift over and try to lift that back leg up so it's internally rotating, top of the knee to the mat, foot extends. Now, when this happens, some people are like, you've got to have your shin parallel with the top of the mat in pigeon. You don't at all. You could bring the foot in. However, I feel like if you start here, you work on 90-90, one day you may be able to have the shin parallel with the top of the mat a lot easier because you've been working on hip rotation. So find your variation. This is where it's all about you, right? Your variation of pigeon pose. And then instead of folding, we are going to lift up by shifting right hip back, left hip forward, and try to lift up and out of pigeon. So ideally, and I'm going to do it in a second because I'm lazy, but ideally I have to come under you and put a block because you're going to squeeze up and in. Fingertips could come to the ground by your sides, shifting and lifting, spinal extension as you hold. 3. Pelvic floor up and in. 2, team. Everything is squeezing from the bottom. 2. Take a breath in. 1. And then exhale, release and relax. We'll do that one more time. So a reminder, you might be here and the same thing, what you're trying to do is just squeeze hip back and maybe almost lift up because you're trying to squeeze so much and you might not lift that high. That's fine. It's the engagement that matters. So your version, squeeze and lift, shift right hip back, left hip forward. Lift up as high as you can. Option, if you're really squeezing, you might be able to take the hands high and hold. It's terrible. I'm sweating everywhere. I can't necessarily recommend it, but we can do it. 3, 2, and 1. Hands come down, hips come down. Transition and roll onto your right hip. We'll all meet here in our little bear sit. Push your right hand into your right thigh. Open, left knee up, open, open, open without letting the right knee lift, right? Our big bear sit, extend through the leg. How much can you lift? Hold. 3, 2, and then 1, you'll transition over to the opposite side. My hip cracked on the back of that. So we all start in 90-90. No matter who you are, we begin here. Finding left shin parallel with the back of the mat. Left knee in line with left ankle. Left knee in line with hip. You might be leaning back here. That's fine too. Try to, even if you're leaning to the side, right, start to bend forward over that leg. Find and facilitate the stretch on the left side. So push your left hip back and down until you can find the stretch on that glute. And like I said, for me, in order to find it, I have to be over in one direction on this hip. Every hip is different. Like we have 9 million hips. Every hip is different. So find that stretch first. Then you might want to begin to extend your right leg back slightly. Just a little bit, opening through that side of the hip. Maybe you're like, oh, I can extend a little bit more. Still facilitating by pulling the left hip back. I say it over and over because sometimes we forget. And so option to stay here, or if you really like, you might lift that back knee up and under and come into your pigeon pose. But for me, I have to use my back a lot to get into this, right? I have to have a bend in my low spine. But I can have less of a bend if, and we're doing this together, shift the left hip back, right hip forward, and then start to imagine you're lifting yourself up off of the mat. Squeeze in. It's almost as though I could come and stick a block under your pelvis because you're squeezing high. Maybe you can get on your fingertips and hold and lift. This should be about your max effort. 3, 2, imagine yourself just getting lighter and lighter. 1, take a breath in. Exhale, release, and take a break. So again, you might be working from here. Same concept. It's all about the shift and lift. We will do one more round. Are you ready? You look ready. I can tell. Your cute little blobs on the screen, but you look ready. Okay, come back to center. Find your version. Again, we are lifting. We don't care about surrendering. We care about strength up towards the sky. So left hip back and down. Push your left knee down. Right hip comes forward. Maybe you can lift the pelvis up off of the mat. This is so hard. Maybe you can extend the hands high on this side. I can't. It's not happening on this side. My glute on that side does not have the strength. So I'm just going to go to fingertips and hold and squeeze. 3. You can do it. You got it. 2. Lift. Take a breath in. Squeeze a little bit more. 1. And exhale. Release the hip down to the ground. Roll over. Bring your left hand to your left knee. Right hand comes behind you. Tell that thing not to move, and you might need to adjust a little bit. So we're actually in 90-90 pose in order to do the bear sit. Open and widen the right knee up to the side, little by little. More and more. Great. And then eventually you'll transition back to the front of the mat. Reach your feet forward. That's it. Pigeon pose. Easy peasy, right? Such a complex pose. So I do want to rant for a second. In pigeon, what we need: rotation in our front thigh, right? Not only that, but extreme hip extension. And then even there, some spinal extension in order to lengthen. So if you have trouble with pigeon, just remember there's so many things. And there's like ankle. Your ankle has to be able to point. So many things that go into it. So give yourself a little grace, because people cue that like it's an easy pose and it's not. Hands forward, tuck the belly. Roll down 1 vertebra at a time, all the way to the mat. As fast or slow as you please, and then reach the hands above the head once you get there. And stretch side to side. So like a nice big morning stretch in one direction, and then in the other direction. Oh. Come back to the breath. I'm gonna plug my computer in because it's threatening to die. And then let's move on to a bridge pose. We have had some work on the spine, but walk your feet hip width distance apart, right by your low back. And then on your next inhale, lift your hips up towards the sky, press your palms down into the mat, and really roll the shoulders in and back. Now, pull your heels towards your glutes, squeeze in and try to get the muscle chain in the back of your legs to completely fire up. So everything in the back of your hamstrings, your legs, squeeze and lift, hold. You are here for 3 slow breaths. 2. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale, lower the hips down 1 vertebra at a time. Once you're there, maybe you take knees together, feet wide in recovery pose or windshield wiper the legs. And then we'll move on to an easy twist in your preferred direction first. So option to have 1 leg wrapped over the other, maybe 2 knees together, or 1 knee into the chest, right? There's 3 ways to twist. So you pick your favorite. 1, 2, or 3. And then let the arms come to a T. Try to gaze over to the opposite side. So today's class was a bit different. We slowed down. We broke down a pose that you may or may not be pretty familiar with at a pace that was a little bit slower than normal. In short, it was a change, right? And as the saying goes, the only constant in life is change. So the more accepting we can be, the more welcoming we can be to change, the less resistance we face, or even, dare I say, anxiety we face from trying to control it or to stop the change. Let's shift over to the opposite side when you're ready. Maybe take a little bit of time on the low back. And then same concept, make sure your legs are equal on this side. Arms come to a T or goalpost and gaze in the opposite direction. What would it feel like if you welcomed change instead of resisting it? And I want to go even in the craziest thing. Let's say you have a new injury, right? You've injured yourself. Your body feels different. It's not the body you're used to. What if we welcomed this change as an opportunity to learn something new about our body or ourselves or our experience existence as a human? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we can't be angry or frustrated or sad when these things happen. But once we've experienced all of our feelings, at some point, there's acceptance, right? There is this time to say, yeah, change is here. And there is a beautiful freedom when we can welcome it with open arms. Take another breath in and exhale. On your next inhale, transition back to center. And then if there are any other movements you would like to take to end your practice, you have about a minute or so to take them. So please explore in your body, what else do you need for your practice to feel complete? Again, this is all about you, right? And then in the next 30 seconds or so, transition towards Shavasana. Feel free to make yourself very comfortable. You're at home, right? So you can tuck yourself in like it's bedtime. Put a pillow under your head. Grab a dog if you have one and make it come lie down with you. That would be my dream. Maybe not necessarily yours, but once you're there, allow your palms to come face up by your sides. As I said, zero rush. Your intention today in Shavasana will just be true surrender. Surrendering to change, surrendering in the moment to relaxation. Or maybe you have something specific you would like to stop trying to control and just accept into your life. Let's make that happen now with a deep breath in. Exhale, Shavasana. If you would like to stay here in Shavasana, please stay. Sync up or soak up your intention. But if you are ready to come out of your practice, you can begin by wiggling your fingers and your toes. Maybe rock your head side to side. And then take a big morning stretch, reaching the hands up, stretching left and right. Until eventually you draw one knee in towards the chest and the other. And roll over onto your favorite side using your arm as a pillow in fetal pose. Once you're there, you can take just a beat and then press yourself up to a comfortable seat, facing the general sound of my voice, eyes closed. Hands can either be together at heart center or maybe two hands over the heart. And then as you inhale, roll your shoulders up to your ears. Exhale, slide them down your back. Take another breath in to lengthen the spine. And exhale, bow your chin in gratitude. Maybe put a smile on your face. Breath in and out. On your inhale, you can lift your head up, blink your eyes open, get reacquainted with your space. Thank you all. Fantastic work today. Great job. If you have any questions about this class or more specifically about 9090, please, you can stay here, hang out, or write me an email and let me know. Happy to chat about it. I also did want to give a heads up. I have removed my account from Spotify. So I'll be sending out a new playlist where you can find, or a new link where you can find all the playlists instead. So if you're using my Spotify links, I'll send you something new. I think that's it. Other than that, have a fantastic week. I will see you next Sunday. Love to you all.